Hey guys, Level Cap here, and DICE just released a massive info dump with new gameplay, the remaining 5 specialists, and tons of changes made to the game since the beta. The sheer volume of info that they released is kind of overwhelming. Hopefully I can walk you through all of it. And of course, first things first, the new 5 specialists have been revealed: Navin Rao, Jisoo Pak, Constantine Angel, Santiago Espinoza, and Emma Rosier. Now, Navin is a recon class specialist that can hack enemy equipment and in-world objects. One example they show is him hacking a control panel to raise and lower ballers to let a friendly vehicle escape. Now, his passive ability reveals nearby enemies when killing a hacked target. It'll be interesting having a class that can gain intel from targets. However, his ability might be a bit more useful in Hazard Zone versus the standard game mode. Battlefield is such a fast-paced game, I can't imagine a lot of players wanting to hack a target versus just shooting a target, but we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Now, Jisoo is already proving to be a very controversial specialist. Her specialty is a wall hack scanner that reveals enemy players for a small window of time. Her passive spots enemies that have damaged her, and while her passive isn't anything too crazy, her specialty wall hack is definitely a first for the franchise. Battlefield have given us many ways to spot and locate our enemies, whether it's minimap spotting, 3D spotting, infrared optics that can see through smoke, but giving us a clear outline of an enemy behind walls is extremely powerful and something they've never done before, at least not in the same fashion. Again, perhaps the pacing of Battlefield will make this ability seem less powerful than it seems at a glance, but I can see why people are not excited about an ability that is wall hacks. Now, the less exciting Constantine can call in a loadout crate that lets you resupply health, armor, ammo, and switch your loadout. His passive gives you the ability to rapidly revive teammates and restore their armor. Now, what is interesting about Constantine is that during the beta, everyone was wondering where the resupply stations were located. It's possible that instead of having fixed resupply stations, Constantine is supposed to fill that role, putting down loadout resupply options on objectives and at the front lines of combat. Now, we already knew a little bit about Espinoza. He comes with a ballistic shield that prevents you from using your guns while using it, and it looks like it reflects bullets back at enemies at certain angles. His passive is a blast damage resistance that also recovers his health faster when damaged by an explosion. It's hard to imagine him being a super popular pick, but again, I'll need to play the final game to see how many situations will arise in which a shield is useful. Finally, there's Emma, aka Sundance. She's the wingsuit specialist that we've seen throughout 2042's marketing, and I mean, well, yeah, she has a wingsuit, so naturally she's going to be one of the more popular picks. As predicted though, the wingsuit is her passive ability. Her actual specialist gadget is a smart explosive that you can customize to be either an anti-armor grenade with homing, an EMP that disables vehicles and enemy gadgets, or a scatter grenade that probably has something like reduced damage but a wide area of effect against infantry. It seems like Sundance and Jisoo are going to be the two most powerful specialists, or at least the most fun-looking specialists revealed in the new footage. Now, after hearing about these new specialists, I think my main takeaway is that some will almost certainly be way more useful in the base game, and others will be more useful in Hazard Zone. I think balance-wise, DICE have created a tricky situation for themselves in which specialists will now have to balance in 2 different game modes, and ultimately they might end up just becoming specialists that are primarily used in one mode instead of both. It's a potential problem with the hybridization of Battlefield into a squad-based extraction shooter and a massive 128-player conquest and breakthrough mode. Both guns and specialists now have to be balanced for both modes simultaneously, potentially reducing the overall refinement of each mode's balance. Now, the wingsuit does look cool AF. Tracking grenades look pretty powerful from the trailer, but again, taking down a mostly damaged little bird in the trailer might make them look more powerful than they actually are. Constantine will probably have a lot of utility once the game's meta normalizes, and especially on breakthrough modes where there's a concentration of infantry at the front lines, his supply crates will likely be very useful. Jisoo will probably be annoying, but the cooldown and range of her ability is going to massively dictate how enjoyable she is to play gameplay and how overpowered she is. If everyone plays her, then we have a real problem, but if she's lightly peppered into each game, then hopefully it won't be too annoying. Now, Espinosa is a bit of a head scratcher for me. Shields in previous Battlefield games have been mostly gimmicks, with just about every serious player ignoring them for something else. Being able to hold the shield and do something in addition to just blocking fire might make him more interesting, but at the moment I think he's kind of last on the list of specialists that I want to play. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, moving on to additional info we received via dev posts and a new blog post. Many of the bugs and missing content from the beta have been addressed. Movement penalties for excessive sliding will prevent Apex Legends-like movement. A nearby grenade indicator has been added. Thank you, DICE. Vehicle enter and exit animations have been refined to be faster or removed entirely in some cases. The buggy elevators are fixed. Performance has improved since the beta build was branched in August and lack current optimizations. Matchmaking improvements have also been made to avoid excessive bots in matches. The beta UI was a big concern for many players, and thankfully it looks like 90% of our concerns have been fixed or improved. A comma rose will be in the final game and has been redesigned as a square menu system, and the actual in-game heads-up display has had many improvements. Kills, assists, heals, and objective points have now been centralized below the main crosshair. The kill feed has been updated with colors denoting squads, enemies, and your kills. The majority sector top bar indicator is smaller and less frequent, but still kind of looks annoying. Kill cams now display a lot more info about your enemy. Ping systems will actually work in the game at launch, but there's still no scoreboard or end of round info that shows your relative performance against the entire rest of the team. This is kind of frustrating because the only way you'll seemingly be able to gauge your performance during a match is with this condensed squad leaderboard thing that doesn't really give you as much info about your individual stats or contribution to the team that I'd like. Like, you might bring this up and think, oh, I'm doing pretty well, but you don't have a good gauge to see how you're doing compared to the rest of the team. Maybe you actually really need to step it up to start pulling your weight. Now, progression was also briefly touched on. You have to play about 4 to 6 hours before you start unlocking higher level / advanced items and specialists. Until then, you'll be limited to more standard specialists and weapon loadouts that closely mirror the class loadouts from the previous games. Weapon attachments are much deeper than the beta has led on. Each plus system slot is customizable and has several available options. Loadouts will not reset between matches, and that was a beta bug. Attachment unlock examples showed straightforward requirements like getting X number of total kills instead of convoluted things from Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1. That's a big win, and hopefully that system carries over to other weapon masteries and other progression systems. One major concern for players was updates to soldier visibility. DICE says that soldier lighting will be updated to make players stand out more. Enemy soldiers will have stronger tint that makes them more obvious as enemies versus teammates. UI markers will appear on nearby enemies, telling you that they're hostile as long as they're not behind cover. UI markers will also appear within 40 meters that show friendlies more consistently, so you don't friendly fire by accident. As for the community's reaction to all of this info, it seems like most players are on board with all of the improvements DICE have made since beta. Specialists still remain a highly divisive subject though, with many players pointing out potential balance issues and frustration with no rigid class structure. It's really hard to tell what the final version of Battlefield 2042 is going to play like. Internally, specialists might seem fair and balanced to DICE, but once players get their hands on the game, I can easily see them breaking the entire game in weird ways. Hopefully DICE is ready to balance and patch, as the player base is bound to exploit the heck out of this game. But what do you guys think about all of this new info and the specialists? What specialists do you guys want to play the most? Are you on board with the specialist system? Do you think DICE are taking things in the right direction? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.